Hi everyone, and welcome to the Performance Progress Report Refresher video. This video is a refresher for current CED grantees for submitting your Performance Progress Reports, also known as PPRs. Today's video will review the purpose of the PPR and how it is used, the PPR timeline and important dates. We'll go over recent changes to the OLDC system. We'll review general information about the PPR submission process. We'll also talk about the newest indicator added to the PPR and how you will report on it, and provide helpful tips for making reporting easier. We'll also let you know where you can find additional resources and support for completing your PPR. Specifically, we'll show you how to access the PPR information page on the CED website. This will be your go-to place for resources and information regarding the PPR, and we will provide you with the URL for this page at the end of the video. So first, what is the PPR? The PPR is a semi-annual report that you are required to submit through the Online Data Collection System, or OLDC, to provide information about the project for which you've received a CED grant. The report basically provides a snapshot of how your project is doing and collects information on key indicators, such as the number of jobs it has created and the number of businesses it has created. This data also allows OCS to help identify if any projects that might need some further assistance. The report provides funders, Congress, and other stakeholders with data on the CED program to show its value and contributions to your community. And finally, the system allows grantees to see previous reports, compare data, and archive their program records. So now we'll go over some important dates to keep in mind. So you want to remember that you're required to submit a PPR twice a year. The 6-month reporting periods are from April 1st to September 29th and September 30th to March 31st. For the report period ending on March 31st, the OLDC system opens the 1st of April, and you have 1 month to complete and submit your report in OLDC. For the reporting period ending September 29th, the OLDC reporting system opens the 1st of October, and you have 1 month to complete and submit your report in OLDC. Before you begin your current report, please confirm that you have submitted your previous report and that its status is marked Submission Accepted by CO. If you begin your current report without your previous report being approved, your baseline data will not populate correctly. Or if you have not submitted your previous report or it has not been accepted by your program specialist, you'll want to email us at ocsregistrar@icf.com for assistance. No matter what the scenario is, please do not begin your current report until you receive guidance from OCS Registrar about the status of your previous reports and how you should proceed. Now we'll go over the new process for accessing the online data collection system. This new process was implemented in August of 2016. So now you access the OLDC system through Grant Solutions at grantsolutions.gov. The former URL that you used to sign into OLDC will no longer launch the system, so you'll want to update your browser bookmark to access OLDC at grantsolutions.gov. OLDC will look and function as it has in the past, only the URL and how you access the system has changed. Now to access OLDC, you'll sign into Grant Solutions at grantsolutions.gov, and then you'll select the online data collection option from the top menu bar, and then the OLDC page will open in a new window. The purpose of this change to how you log in is part of an ongoing effort to streamline systems for grants management and reporting. In addition to being able to access both Grant Solutions and OLDC through one URL, another benefit of this change is you only need one username and password for both systems now. Most of you probably already have an existing Grant Solutions account or OLDC account, or probably both. So now we'll walk through which username and password you will use moving forward. First, if you currently have an OLDC and Grant Solutions account, you will use your current Grant Solutions username and password to log into Grant Solutions. If you do not have an existing Grant Solutions account, but you do have an OLDC account, you will use your OLDC username and password to log into Grant Solutions. And if you don't have either account for Grant Solutions or OLDC, you'll submit a grantee user account request form, which can be accessed from the Grant Solutions homepage. And if you need help filling out that form or accessing it, contact us at the OCS registrar. In addition, if you have questions about logging in with your previous Grant Solutions or OLDC usernames and passwords, you can refer to the Quick Sheets page on the Grant Solutions website. And if you've forgotten your username or password, you can contact the Grant Solutions Help Desk. The email to reach them is help@grantsolutions.gov. So once you have logged into OLDC, the home page will pop up in a new window. This page should look familiar to you. Logging in has changed, but the home page has not. But you may remember that in the summer of 2015, some new enhancements were launched by OLDC, including a new homepage. So to activate the new homepage view, you'll select the link Switch Homepage Enhanced on the right side of the OLDC home screen, or you may choose to just continue using the original homepage. It's really whichever you prefer. The enhanced home screen was created basically to improve navigation and make OLDC easier to use. However, the functionality remains unchanged, so it's the same as the original homepage. A couple new features of the new enhanced homepage include the My Recent Activity tab, which provides a list of recent activities so grantees can easily navigate to PPRs that have been recently accessed. There's also a search box that allows you to more easily locate information. You have the ability to sort columns. There's also a due date column that provides the due date for PPRs, so you can easily identify when a PPR is due. And if a PPR due date is past and not submitted, the words past due appear to alert you that action is needed on your part. There are a number of resources available on the News and Tips page in OLDC that provide some more guidance and tips on the enhanced homepage and how you can use it. So now we'll quickly review the steps you take to locate and begin completing your report forms. So regardless of which home screen you're using, you will select Report Form Entry to access your PPR. For your CED grant, you'll select the Urban and Rural Economic Development option in the Program Name drop-down box. If you have multiple grants, you'll select the one in the drop-down box with the highest two-digit number at the end. That indicates it is the most recent. You'll just have to confirm that you have selected the correct grant by checking the grant number on the next screen. Then you'll choose your funding grant period and reporting period and select New Edit Revise Report. This will take you into the PPR. As you already know, the PPR is made up of 4 forms. The cover page, which kind of just collects some basic information about your program. Form A, which is the quantitative data about your project. This is where you will report on positions created and businesses created and indicators like that. Form B is the qualitative data section. This is where you'll kind of talk more about the story of your grant, any changes or successes or challenges around your project. And Form E collects financial data about your project. One common issue that many grantees run into when reporting has to do with report stages. So grantees may believe that they have submitted their report when in fact they have entered in all the information, but they have not completed all the steps necessary to actually allow the program specialist to review it in the system. Your report will go through a number of different stages while you are reporting, and you've probably become very familiar with these stages, but we will review them quickly because it is important for you to be able to check the status of your report and know whether there are any additional steps you need to take to submit. First is initialized, which means that you have accessed your report at least once, but may or may not have entered any data. Saved means that you have entered some or all of the data in the report and clicked Save, and we do recommend you save your work very often. Validated means that you have entered some or all data in your report and clicked Validate. Validate basically checks your data for errors. Certified means that you have completed adding data to your report. This step should not be confused with report submission. Once you certify your report, you are still required to click Submit and submit your report to OCS through OLDC. Submitted means you have completed your report and selected Submit. This means your report is submitted and your program specialist will be notified that your report has been submitted through the system. Submitted with warnings, status is the system's way of reminding you that you have made a change to certain fields, project strategy and geographic location on Form B, that you must inform your program specialist about. Reports can be submitted with these warnings, and we will talk a little bit more about when you receive a warning for those two fields a little bit later in the video. Submission and review means that you have submitted your report and it's currently being reviewed by your program specialist. Submission accepted means that your program specialist reviewed your report and has accepted it. You will get an email notification from the system when it's been accepted. Submission returned by your program specialist means that your PPR was reviewed, but your program specialist needs you to make some additional edits or provide more information before they can accept it. You will be notified through email if your PPR is returned, and additionally, your program specialist will contact you to explain why the report was not accepted and ask you to add certain information or data in order to have it be resubmitted and accepted in the system. If you're ever unsure which stage your report is in, you can always check using the timeline that's found at the top of each report form. So it lists all the statuses and stages of the reports, and you'll see a check mark with indicating which stage your PPR is in. I want to talk a little bit more about when a submission is returned in the system. So one of the most common questions that we get from grantees is, my program specialist returned the PPR I submitted and requested I make changes. How do I edit and resubmit the report? So like we said, in some cases, your program specialist may reject your PPR because it's lacking some detail or they need clarification or more information. You will receive an email from the online system notifying you it's been returned, and your program specialist, like I said, will follow up with you. When you go into the PPR, it will still be in the status submission returned, and to edit the report, you will need to first unsubmit the report. So to do this, you'll navigate to the report form status page and select the blue Unsubmit Report button. Once the report is unsubmitted, you will need to uncertify the report. To do this, on the report section page, you'll select Uncertify. So just keep in mind, to edit a PPR, you must first unsubmit and then uncertify the report. Once you have uncertified the report, you'll be able to go in, make the requested edits, and then resubmit to your program specialist so they can review it. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about the level of detail and information program specialists are looking for in your PPR, to kind of do your best to make sure that your PPR isn't returned, we encourage you to review the Submitting a High Quality PPR webinar. This webinar provides tips and guidance for completing high-quality PPRs and highlights some key details that must be included in order for them to be approved. The recording of this webinar is located on the PPR information page. And again, at the end of the video, I'll show you where and how to access that page. Now we'd like to specifically address those grants that have just ended. So if your grant ended on September 29th, your last semi-annual PPR will be due October 30th. This is for all grants. If you are fairly confident that your data will not change after you submit this report on October 30th, you can mark your last PPR as final. Then you will not need to submit an additional final report for your grant. But if you anticipate that you may have changes in your data, you will submit the report for this reporting period with the date you have by October 30th, like you would for any PPR. And then you'll create a revised report in OLDC, and that will be the final report you submit. So an example of a situation where your data may change is if you anticipate additional jobs for individuals with low income being created between October and December 30th. So you submit your last PPR on October 30th, and then you submit your revision to your PPR as your final report by December 30th, and you will mark that as final. And in that revised version, you will only be required to modify the original report to reflect the changes that occurred after October 30th. To mark your report as final in the system, you will edit that on the grantee information and certification page, which we refer to as the cover page. So from the report section screen, you'll select Edit Section from the drop-down to the right of the cover page and select Go. And then on the cover page, you will select Yes under number 8, Final Report, and this will then mark your report as final. If you need any step-by-step guidance on submitting your final report, there is a final report webinar available on the PPR information page, or you can contact us at OCS Registrar. Data collection tool. So the data collection tool is an Excel tool that has been developed to try and make it easier for grantees to collect all of the data you need to fill out Form A of the PPR throughout the year. There's many benefits to using this tool. It basically simplifies filling out Form A for you. It does the calculations for you. It helps minimize errors because there are certain checks in the data collection tool that make sure that you're collecting the correct data for Form A. And it allows you to keep a record of what you've submitted. If you're not currently using the data collection tool to record your project's data, we strongly encourage you to start. The tool is available for download in Excel on the PPR information page, and there's also a lot of guidance on that page too about how to use the data collection tool. And you can contact us at OCS Registrar if you need any other information on that. If you have been using the tool to track your data throughout the year, the Final tab is where you'll find all the information that you need to fill out PPA Form A in the system. One thing to keep in mind is even if you're using the data collection tool and you finalize your records in the Excel tool, you still need to go into the online data collection system and enter that information into the PPR on Form A and submit it to OCS through OLDC. This Excel data collection tool is for your records and to help you collect the data, but it is separate from actually submitting the PPR online. So the data collection tool is specifically for Form A, so we'll talk now a little bit about what you report on in Form A. So with one exception, Form A of the PPR only collects data for individuals with low income. The one exception for that is indicator AOOJ, which was added to the PPR in 2014. This indicator asks for the total number of positions created with CED funds, including jobs created for individuals with low income and non-low income individuals. This new indicator is the only indicator that asks for information on individuals without low income. All other indicators on Form A are specific to positions filled by people with low income, and you will continue to report on the positions created exclusively for people with low income throughout the rest of Form A. Although AOOJ is the only indicator in the PPR that asks you to report on a quantitative figure related to non-low income individuals, OCS still wants to hear about the overall success of the project. So if you have information related to jobs created for non-low income people, you can discuss this information in the explanation field to the right of the indicator or in Form B of the PPR. To elaborate a bit on the new indicator, first, it appears just above the existing job creation indicators A05J through A12J. We really want to clarify the difference between the existing job creation indicator, A06J, and the new indicator. Both ask for full-time positions created. However, the difference is the new indicator, AOOJ, asks for the total number of full-time positions created for individuals with low income and non-low income individuals. A06J is only interested in full-time positions created for individuals with low income. This number entered in AOOJ, the new indicator, will always be the highest number in the actual to date column for the job creation indicators. For some of your grants, this number will be the same as the total number of full-time positions created for low-income individuals, indicator AO6J. This means that all jobs created with grant funds were filled by individuals with low income. So let's use some examples to talk more about the difference between these two indicators. So in one scenario, say 100 full-time jobs were created for individuals with low income, and 0 positions were created for individuals without low income. The number entered in the actual to date column for AOOJ would be 100. The number entered in AO6J would also be 100. For other grants, however, the total number of full-time positions created for both people with and without low income will be higher than full-time positions filled exclusively by people with low income only. So for example, maybe your grant created 100 full-time jobs for individuals with low income and an additional 20 jobs for individuals without low income. If this is the case, in the actual to date column, you would enter 120 positions for AOOJ and 100 for AO6J. This really kind of depends on your project and the positions that you're created, but in all cases, keep in mind that indicator AOOJ will be equal to or greater than indicator AO6. Since we were just talking about the data collection tool, I also want to point out that the new indicator is not on the Excel data collection tool. This is because the data collection tool is designed to only collect information on jobs created for people with low income. For those of you that are using the data collection tool, you want to continue using the tool as you have been, only entering in the data that pertains to individuals with low income. And you will just need to track the positions created for non-low income individuals using a different method outside of the data collection tool. And then when you're using the data collection tool to input data into OLDC, you'll just need to pay special attention and ensure you are entering in the data in the actual to date column for the correct indicator, since the data collection tool now looks slightly different than Form A in OLDC, since Form A has that new indicator. So at this point, I wanted to go over some helpful tips that we've put together. We often see many of the same questions come from grantees, and we'll review some of the most common questions now. So the first is making sure that you complete the correct report. It's very important that you complete your report for the correct reporting period, because if you do not, there is no way to change the reporting period, and you will need to re-enter the information for the correct period. To avoid this problem, be sure to select the radio button next to the dates for the correct reporting period. Next, and this is what we talked about a bit earlier in the video, it's important to check the status of your previous report. Before you begin your current report, you want to confirm that you have submitted your previous reports. If you have not, you want to make sure to submit your previous report as soon as possible. You also want to make sure that your previous reports are marked as submission accepted by CO. If you begin your current report without your previous report being approved, your baseline data will not populate correctly. If your previous report has a status other than submission accepted by CO, email ocsregistrar@icf.com for assistance. Please do not begin your current report until you receive guidance from the OCS registrar about the status of your previous report and how you should proceed. You also may find over the course of your grant that you need to update the person listed as the grant administrator in OLDC. So if this person has changed or it's listed incorrectly in OLDC, you can submit a request to the OCS registrar with the new grant administrator's information. So you will provide their phone number, email, and position title, and you'll also indicate whether the original grant administrator is still with your organization. I also want to go over a couple indicators that often cause some confusion. First, we'll discuss reporting of individuals with low income hired or retained, which are indicators A15, A21, and A22 on Form A. These indicators measure the total number of individuals with low income who were employed in a job created with CED funds. First, A15 asks you to report on the total number of individuals with low income ever hired into a position. Indicator A21 asks you to provide the total number of individuals with low income who were hired into a CED created full-time position at least 6 months ago. It does not include those who were hired within the past 6 months. Indicator A22 asks you to report on the total number of individuals with low income who retain their full-time jobs for at least 6 consecutive months. It does not include those who retain their jobs for less than 6 months. A good way to think about these 3 indicators is as an inverted pyramid. So remember that the number you report in indicator A15 should include all individuals with low income ever hired with your grant. A21, which is the number of individuals with low income who were hired at least 6 months ago, will be a subset of the total number of individuals with low income ever hired as you report in indicator A15. And of the number of individuals with low income hired at least 6 months ago, indicator A21, a subset, will have retained their jobs for at least 6 months. This number should be reported in indicator A22. So this idea of the inverted pyramid is a good way to think about several other groups of indicators as well, including the number of businesses created, the number of positions created, and the number of TANF recipients hired. So we'd also like to review the indicators around leveraging. You are asked to report on these through indicators A25 through A29 on Form A. Leveraging is not a requirement for your projects, but tracking this information allows us to show how organizations are able to utilize CED funds to attract other financing to help create jobs. These 5 indicators related to leveraging on Form A measure the amount of money leveraged through any non-CED source. So indicators A26 through A29 ask you to report on how many dollars your project has leveraged from government funds, private funds, loans, and other sources of leveraging. And for other sources, in the explanation field next to this indicator, you can go into more detail about the sources or type of loans these funds come from. All of the leveraged funds you report in indicators A26 through 29 will add up to the total dollars your project has leveraged. This total will be automatically populated in indicator A25. If no funds were leveraged, you'll enter a 0 into these fields and provide a brief explanation in column 7 that indicates no funds were leveraged. You can also use Form B to provide more details about funds leveraged as a result of CED funds to kind of talk more about your leveraged funds and let your program specialist know more information about that. As a reminder, reports can still be submitted with warnings. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. However, errors must be resolved before the report can be submitted. If you validate your report and you see that your report has some errors, you will see an error message on the screen that explains which indicator the error relates to and how you can correct that error. A few typical error messages you can expect are when there are blank fields requiring numbers, when there are zeros that require explanations, or when a baseline number exceeds the actual to date column. So you will correct these errors and use the explanations in the system to help you kind of figure out why you're receiving the error message. If you're unable to correct the error and you need a little bit of assistance, you can contact us at OCS Registrar and we can walk you through how to correct the errors. Warnings are a little bit different. Some information in the forms that you complete is already completed for you and you do not need to fill them out. This specifically relates to most of the information in Form B. So in Form B, the project strategy indicator and the geographic location indicator are fields that are editable. But if you do edit these fields, you will produce a warning because these are fields that aren't expected to change throughout the course of your grant. You also might receive a warning on these 2 fields when it's your first time ever reporting in the system. You can still submit the report if you receive these warnings. However, if you make edits to these fields, you'll need to let your program specialist know. So basically, you receive a warning message when you edit these two fields as a reminder to you that if these two aspects of your project has changed, you need to be in communication with your program specialist about that. So now we'll highlight some additional resources and places you can go for assistance. We hope that this video is going to be a resource for you, and we have a few additional resources that we want to point out. The first is the PPR information page, which we've referenced a few times throughout this video. The URL is listed on this slide. You can access it through the CED website. This is going to be your go-to place for finding resources. You can watch previous webinar recordings. There's a frequently asked questions document, some sample forms and instructions, and information about submitting your PPR through OLDC. If you go to the PPR information page and you view this video and you still have some questions about submitting the PPR, using the OLDC system, or anything related to the PPR, your program specialists are available to provide some general grant assistance and guidance. They are a good resource for questions because they can also refer you to the right people, and they can help make sense of issues you may be encountering. The OCS registrar is also available to provide technical assistance for reporting with the PPR. So feel free to email us anytime at ocsregistrar@icf.com with questions related to reporting for your grant. We can help you submit the PPR, work in the OLDC system, and point you to the right people that you need to talk to help address some of the issues that you may be encountering as well. So this is the end of the video. Thank you for taking the time for viewing this, and that we hope that it is helpful in submitting your PPRs and using the online data collection system. Thank you.